ACC football is back, and we have the ACC kickoff schedule for you. We're going to talk about how every team has some strengths, has a few weaknesses, and what their season record will be. We'll predict that and talk about maybe a little more about what could go down at ACC kickoff with Jim Phillips, all on today's show.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. It's always a pleasure to have you talk through some of our ACC news. Make sure you download, subscribe to the podcast from wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as watch our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and let your friends know, and make sure you leave some comments. We always love to talk to our friends. If you talk to us, we certainly talk back. ACC kickoff is here. We never thought we'd see football again, but July 25th through the 27th, Tuesday through Thursday at the West End at Charlotte. We will have the ACC Network providing live coverage, as well as Kenton Gibbs down in Charlotte to help us get ready for the 2023 ACC football season. For the first time in the history of the event, the ACC will have a 3-day full of interviews with all your favorite coaches and players, top players around the various programs, and we'll have a nice slate of conversations going for Commissioner Phillips as well, who will kick off the event. Kitten, how are you feeling about going down to Charlotte?
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be a great time. Every time I've been to ACC Media Days in the past has been a blast. So, I expect nothing different out of this one.
1,000%. All right, let's get into Tuesday's schedule. Commissioner Jim Phillips will kick off. As we all know, if you have not checked out our most recent episode, he has a little things going on with Northwestern from his previous stay as the AD. But what will he discuss during this time here? Last season, it was more about expansion and what we were doing to sort of chase the SEC in the Big Ten. What do you think is going to be the main things that we should let folks know Jim Phillips will be discussing here at ACC Kickoff?
I think the main things that Jim Phillips will be discussing are very similar to last year, right? The possibility of expansion, the new revenue model, getting into that a little bit more detailed, because we all saw the articles and whatnot about what it would look like and what it meant. But it's always great to hear the actual intent behind it, as well as the impact that's going to come out of it directly from the horse's mouth, for lack of a better term. So I think that's going to be a really, really interesting thing to see. And I think it'll be a great time kind of getting into that.
I think it'll be a lot of fluff, a lot of, oh my gosh, the ACC is so great with championships around everything but the actual football side of it, which, it's all well and good, but we know who sort of makes the money around here. So it'll be interesting to hear what from a football landscape he's still hoping to contribute and bring and help elevate as we look to make more consistent money, although we have, of course, upticked in terms of how much we're making, but for some people it's never enough. So hopefully he has a nice game plan in that regard.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, there will never be enough for some folks. And at the end of the day, this is one of those situations where regardless of what is said, there will always be a contingency to seize it as lip service, and it really doesn't matter. So, we'll see how this thing works out and what Phillips can get squared away here. But all in all, I don't want to, say one way or the other definitively that I know for a fact he's going to talk about this or that. It just makes sense that we're going to hear something about kind of how conference realignment and the the 7 teams that we're looking to get out that were almost 8 that never quite materialized in 8 and all that, what that looks like, and what the temperature of the room is with all these teams being happy but not really and all that, and how he plans on managing that going forward. I think we're going to get very vanilla, hey, I don't want to rock the boat answers, but it's still good to have some type of answer on these things nonetheless, especially during this time of the year when there's no sports on. You know what I mean?
Very true.
We're down to watching DeMarcus Cousins highlights on Twitter right now. So it's a tough time for sports. It's a tough time.
I did see some slam basketball when I was in the gym this weekend. It was very interesting to say the least, but Got to make it do what it do. I also think, of course, we can't forget about the CW Network partnership and Raycom Sports, so that I'm sure will be a topic of conversation. So if you have not yet checked out those episodes, we kindly ask you to do so you can be locked and loaded and ready to go. So let's talk about this 3-day week of full interviews from your favorites, head coaches, and 3 athletes. Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, and Syracuse will be first on the docket for Tuesday. Now, Georgia Tech, a team that we've been high on so far, kind of like our dark horse, if you will, in terms of Brent Key and company. They'll be there to kick things off for us in terms of programs. We were talking about 8 wins. Are we still committed to that for this team? Because I feel as if they have a lot of strengths. The quarterback, to me, is the only weakness.
I don't know if I'm committed to 8 wins. I don't want to take it that far now. Let's not get crazy here. But with that being said, I could definitely see some things working out in order to get them in that area. But I think that this is a team that's going to be better than most people think they are. I think that, and I stand by that. So we'll see how this thing shakes out.
What is good about Georgia Tech, and what's something that Georgia Tech still needs to answer some questions about?
I mean, honestly, I think this team has questions all over the place, but the thing is, you also kind of feel like coming off of last year, at least you have your quarterback question answered. At least you're not wondering like, hey, is Sims with us? Is he coming back? What's going on? You have your quarterback position answered, which is the most important position in the game these days, but it's still not, ideal per se in terms of having everything ironed out. So we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I think defensively, you have a lot of holes to fill, but you have a pretty strong defensive line and some really good backs. It'll be all come down to, half the battle is having a good coach who you bought into. And I certainly feel like he is that guy right now for them. So we'll say, how many wins do you think overall? I said 8, but what will you go with?
Yeah, I mean, I could see 6 or 7, but 8 is possible. 8 is possible. I wouldn't say, hey, 8 is out of the realm of possibility. And if you think that you're on the special type of draw, it's possible, but I wouldn't say that that's the thing that I most strongly believe in.
Possible, but aggressive will take it. Louisville,
exactly.
A very strong team that has a very good coach that everyone seems to be rallying around. The coach seemed to be the only issue for Louisville, according to most folks, with Satterfield's departure. But, there's still questions to me about their quarterback, position and how he'll be able to lead now that Malik Cunningham is gone. What are your thoughts around this Louisville team and where they'll finish this season?
There's a lot of questions around, how good is Louisville really? Because everybody in the city of Louisville has unlimited faith in Brown. And this is a team that defensively, they're always there. And so now the belief is, hey, Brown's going to get them together on offense, and that's going to be everything that they need. But I mean, honestly and truly, the question for this team is going to be who's going to step up? Who's going to be the guys that you're not expecting to play well? Because, I mean, objectively speaking, even if you believe Brown is the greatest thing since sliced bread, great coaches make those other guys look really good. And so who are the other guys that Brown's going to make look really good is going to be one of the biggest questions for Louisville.
Where will Louisville finish? I give them 7 wins, and that's very high on them. I personally feel like it's going to be 5 to 6, but I'll say 7. I feel good about people today.
I feel like in our review, I said they get 6 or 7, and I'm sticking with that. I think this is a 6 or 7 win team. I don't think that they see a drop off from last year or they fall off a cliff from last year, but I also don't see them taking a huge leap forward in year 1 under Brown.
Let's talk about Miami, a team, of course, that always is good. Mario Cristobal has cemented himself about what his regime is going to look like. And if you don't get with it, you can certainly get lost. And, Cristobal has Tyler Van Dyke. He has, some really good guys like Cam Kitchens at defense. So what will this Miami team bring for us in terms of strengths and weaknesses?
I mean, when you look at Miami, you have to ask yourself some very, very basic questions of who are you all internally? What's the heart and soul of that program look like right now? Are the players actually buying in? Is this a situation where guys actually like each other, actually want to play together, actually want to be there? Or is this a case where we're going to see another year of, oh, yeah, everything's good until it's not? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, everything's fine until all of a sudden a couple of losses roll in, and now we're asking all the questions in the world about who are these teams and what do we have going on, or who is this team and who doesn't want to be here and who wants to jump ship and all that good stuff. So, this is a team. They have questions about who are you internally, what's the soul of this program right now, which I think honestly are some of the most significant questions to answer in this conference.
And I think that Miami is just one of those programs where they're the biggest head case, right? Because you're supposed to be good. You're supposed to be this dominant program. You're supposed to be this historically gifted program, and you're supposed to be bringing it back and being that Miami of old. But something about when it doesn't go right, people start to feel like they're, too good, too big to be there, and almost bigger than the program, not really locked in. So great point there. So I think that's definitely something they're going to have to figure out. They do, have a really great quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke. Having his wide receiver one be one of his besties is certainly going to help matters. So, I'm excited for them. I think they get 7, which will, of course, make people feel away, but it's better than what we were looking at before last year.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that this Miami team is going to be world beaters by any means, but I don't think that they're going to be a terrible team either. This is year 2, and objectively speaking, I believe the statistics bear out that most coaches, if they're going to win a national championship, they're going to do it between years 1 and 3. And so, Mario, that clock is, it's on you, brother. It's on you. But I think that this is going to be a team that they're deep and talented up front defensively. They have some studs on the back end as well defensively, like you just talked about. Great connection between your wide receiver one and your QB one. And so, the question for this team is, how do y'all gel as a team? As individuals, we know y'all are wonderful. We know a lot of y'all are going to be playing on Sundays. What do you all look like as a team?
100%. Let's finish up here with Tuesday. We're talking about Syracuse. My fave, Dino Babers, is going to be there. He's got to win 7 if he wants to keep his job. This team certainly has Garrett Shrader, who, if healthy, is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC. He reminds me similar of Riley Leonard in terms of doesn't get a lot of the shine, but is pretty consistent, has great legs on him, has improved that arm, Jesus, because Lord knows he was throwing. I don't even know. I don't think his mama knew where he was throwing it to, but he's definitely gotten better. And that defense is what it is. Arondé Gadsden, the second, is certainly going to help Shrader. And that defense, has lost some really key people. But how positive are we that Syracuse gets 6 or 7 this year?
I'm not positive about that. I think Shrader is going to be good. Mm-hmm. But I think Gaston is going to be good. Mm-hmm. You're going to need more than those two offensively. Mm-hmm. You're going to need that running game to be good, to be
Sean Tucker is not walking through that door. Yeah,
he's not walking through that door. He's walking through NFL doors these days. And so, that's the deal there. And also they lost some key players defensively as well from last year's team. And so the question is going to be, how do you replace some of those big name top end guys that you lost from last year? And we'll see the answer over time, I guess.
They're certainly going to yell at us if we do not talk about how good that defense was for the Syracuse, but it remains to be seen how much they improve as we head through this next couple units. But I want to remind you guys, let's pay some bills here, that for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to just fit right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. But because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Kenton Gibbs here helping us talk through ACC Kickoff for our football programs. Tuesday's slate will be pretty packed, but Wednesday's looks even better. Duke will kick off on the morning of Wednesday, July 26th. The Blue Devils came hot last season with 9 wins from Coach Elko, who basically said, we're here, we're ready to go. Just, sit here and wait. I'm the Duke football girl, as we have known in this show. If you have been here long enough, I ride for those Blue Devils only in the football side of things. Let me be very clear. I feel like 8 wins is doable. They're certainly going to be, were they a fluke last year? I don't think Riley Leonard offers that opportunity, as well as Dwayne Carter on that defensive side.
Yeah, so the big thing for Duke that you're looking at and saying, okay, what is the strength? Or we know the strength is Riley Leonard. We know Riley Leonard is a criminally underrated quarterback. He's very good, very, very good. The weakness of this team, at least the perception of the weakness of this team, is lack of offensive skill position players that are dynamic. You don't have a ton of guys that you look at like, oh man, this guy's a big play threat. This guy's a big play threat. If he's leaving out of this Duke team. And so, you ask yourself, was it lightning in a bottle last year? Was it just, hey, you played a terrible Coastal and got off, and you played a schedule that even outside of the Coastal, you ran into a bunch of teams that were 1, 2, 3 win teams in your non-conference? Can you find a way to continue the success from last year when your schedule is going to look very different than it did last year? Is the charge for Duke and Elko and company. And if I'm Elko, there's a lot of chips on my shoulder. There's a lot of reason to say, oh, y'all still don't believe in us? Okay, great. Well, now it's time to show y'all. So I think that, again, the strength of this team, Riley Leonard, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the weakness is something that hopefully Riley Leonard can cover up. And I don't think they have a ton of big play threats around him offensively.
I think they got the Jalen's, the Jordans. Everybody has a J name in terms of their receiving core or their punt return, kick return team. So I definitely think that they're there. You're right. They're not superstars, but certainly it's people that you can't sleep on necessarily, and how it all transpired. Given the record, what do you predict at the end of the season with? How many wins?
I think that this is a 7-win team. I think this is a 6-7 win team. I don't think that they get 8 like they did last year. I don't think they improve upon last year's record, but I think they get 7.
They got 9 last year.
Yeah, I don't think they improve on that. I don't think they go 10 or more. I don't see a world where that happens, but more power to them.
There's always one hater in the mix. It's fine.
I mean, hey, call me what you want, but I don't believe this team. They got to show me something. I lost money betting against them last year. Y'all got to take my money again for me to believe in you.
How much money are you trying to put down this year, or no money?
As much as you want to go for. Because, like I said, as much as you believe in Duke and all that, I'm willing to bet whatever that they don't improve last year's record. I'm willing to put whatever on that one. Now talk to me. If you got that much faith, talk to me.
9 total wins, including the bowl game.
They won 9 last year. Mm-hmm. Improve it 10.
Okay, 150. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Right. I'm ready.
Do it. I have no doubts. In my mind that I am safe. I am as
I can't. And this is how you were last year when they couldn't win 6. You were hell bent on them not winning 6.
Hey, listen.
And I'm fine with that. So all I need them to do is win 9 regular and 1 bowl game, and I'm good to go.
I live with being wrong. Mm-hmm. I have never told anybody that Kenton is infallible or I'm a god of some sort. I am just a man. I will be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times in life before. And guess what? I'm going to be wrong plenty of times after this. This one right here, though, I'm right. This ain't a 10-win team.
Okay. Well, we will see. Florida State, speaking of 10-win teams, the Seminoles with Mike Norvell are certainly feeling themselves. Jordan Travis has been here about 10 years now. He is on his way to winning a Heisman. I am high on Jordan and all the things. Jared Verse is going to make it happen. The weaknesses, I can't really find it right now because Johnny Wilson is going to help that offense propel it in crazy ways. I think, their secondary has certainly made some strong improvements. Not a lot of weaknesses for this team. It's only going to be, can they go one game at a time?
I disagree. I disagree.
Of course,
I think that while their offensive line is experienced
mm-hmm.
and while they have played a good amount of football together,
mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable just naturally assuming that they're gonna take a next step or take another leap. It could be a situation where they plateaued or even get worse in terms of like, yes, you're getting bigger, stronger, faster. Yes, you're heading towards your peak physically, but also there's a year of tape out on how y'all perform together. There's a year of tape in, all right, what pass rush games do they struggle with? What blitz concepts do they struggle with? And so, with all the expectations and all the hype surrounding this team, we all know how that goes. And when you look at teams that underperform, it's not just because they didn't prepare the right way or they didn't do things that they needed to. It's because when you are a team that everybody's talking about as a potential playoff bid team, you're going to be everybody's Super Bowl. that 4-3 team that thinks they're a lot better than they are, when y'all go play them on the road and their fans are going crazy and saying, oh, well, we're having an average season, but we're going to give them our best shot, you're going to see that. And so, the strengths with Florida State, very top heavy. They're, in terms of stars, they've got the biggest and brightest in the conference. They've got Jared Verse, who's going to be going in the first 5 to 7 picks next year. They've got some multiple corners who have made all ACC teams. You've talked about Jordan Travis and all the special things that he's doing, the backfield that just won't quit. Sure, the offensive line is who everybody's looking at saying, this team will go as far as y'all take them.
Very interesting. How many wins do they get?
I see 10. This is a 10-win team. This is a 10-win team here.
All right. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Panthers, who, coached by Coach Narduzzi, definitely have a lot of questions that remains to be seen in terms of their quarterback position. Can they bring a Kenny Pickett or a new version of, or maybe not at all, or figure out now that they are going to be a dominant program with Phil Dracovic at the helm? It certainly remains to be seen after losing some really strong defenders in Kalijah Cansey, my guy who starts with the H, whose name I butcher every single time, Servassier Dennis. You got a lot to make up for on that defensive side, but ultimately we know Narduzzi can get it done there. You're no longer in the Coastal. You don't have that crutch. Can they compete here in this ACC with a no division matchups?
Yeah, and we know every Pat Narduzzi coach team, the defense is going to be strong. Every Pat Narduzzi coach team, when the offense can give you a little bit of juice, you're going to be in a conference championship contentious situation, which is what we saw with the Kenny Pickett year, as you mentioned, and all that. And so the biggest strength is going to be probably that front seven and whatnot. The biggest question is going to be not just about Phil Dracovic, but how that backfield performs altogether. How do you replace Izzy, and which version of Phil are we getting? Those are the two questions offensively that are going to be massively important to get answered.
Yeah, 1,000%. How many wins do they pop off? I say 6 and a possible.
I'll say 7 and a possible.
Of course you do. Let's talk about Virginia, who has a lot of questions in terms of just where are they as a program mentally, physically, how are they ready, the loss of Brennan Armstrong and what they're looking forward to this season. Expectations to me, not very high. If they get 4 to 5 wins, I say that's progress for them, but it's going to be a hard fought 4 to 5.
I agree. And this Virginia team, by most experts, are picked to finish near, if not dead last. And honestly, it's and I hate to say this because it sounds really negative, but I struggle to find the redeeming quality or the strength in this team that I would say, like, hey, this is the thing that I know they're going to be really good in this department. I'm just being completely honest. I struggle to find that. And with a team where you struggle to find strengths, you know what that means. The weaknesses are everywhere. There's massive questions about, the quarterback position right now. You've got a pretty heavy competition rolling there. The wide receiver core, depleted by a lot of things last year. What is that going to look like? Defensively, your top corner, the top performer on the team, is now playing for Florida State. There are so many, moments where you're just like, does this roster have what it takes to compete at an ACC level? Honestly,
just hope everybody has fun. Everyone comes out safe, and they win a couple games here and there. I think I call this a successful season for them. And then I look to next year as what are we doing recruiting wise? How are we trying to make, them even get prominent in the ACC level, let alone national scale? Tony Elliott has some work cut out for him for sure.
If they win 5 games this year, they might want to build Tony a statue.
Kenton.
I am not kidding.
5. First of all, full well 5 wins is insane.
That's why I said if they win 5, they need to build Tony a statue. Build the statue. Go ahead and build
it. I don't know if I have that much faith in Tony, but we're gonna see.
I don't have that much faith. Listen. I know that I said if he wins 5, build him a statue. Don't worry, UVA. Y'all will not have to dip into y'all discretionary fund to find the money for a statue. Don't worry.
Good
That discretionary fund is very safe. It's safe and sound.
Good night. All right, Virginia Tech, last team that'll be there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I wish I could say it's as much of excitement, but it feels a tick above the level of expectations I feel for Virginia. It's a sad sight there in the state.
Yeah, the
704.
The Commonwealth.
It's not 704. What is it? What is 804?
The Commonwealth, they 804, 757, all that good stuff. The Commonwealth is struggling. They're having a tough time.
From a recruiting lens, from a production lens, from all around, it's tough.
Yeah. And they're in a very similar situation in that I will say this, though. I will give Virginia Tech this. Virginia Tech defensively at times last year really did hold their own. The offense did not hold up their end of the bargain, but that defense really held their own. However, offensively, again, they've got similar questions to Pitt with worse answers at other positions. Yeah. Like you're asking yourself, okay, can Grant Wells be the guy? You're asking yourself, the running game last year was so bad. It wasn't bad. It was terrible. It was flatly terrible at times. And you're asking yourself, your top receiver is now gone as well. And so you're asking yourself about this team, where is the strength offensively? What is going to be the strength offensively? And so with that being the case, I mean, I don't want it to seem like I'm just ragging on this team to rag on them, but
you ragging on this worse than Virginia. We definitely feel like Virginia ain't gonna be nothing. So
no. I'm gonna tell you this. I think Virginia Tech is a better team. I think that they have
100%.
I think that they have more answers or more a slight notch above in terms of talent. But I think both of these teams are lacking sorely in the Larry's and Joe's department in order to create some wins there.
I respectfully have more confidence in the prior leadership than I do Elliott.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Very much so. And also, I mean, it's just a better situation. Again, we've talked about the tragedy and things and how you talk about moving forward and all that. I talked about losing receivers to things, that you could not have guessed, and losing one of the most dynamic players in recent ACC history and a 6'7" deep ball, jump ball threat to, a senseless act of gun violence is, it's terrible. It's really terrible. And it's unfortunate that that young man lost his life. And from a team perspective, you lose a really good player in that regard. But back to Virginia Tech now, you don't have those same types of problems, but you still kind of do. You still kind of have lost your best receiver as well. He's just timed out of the system. You still have a situation at quarterback where you're like, we're hoping that either Wells takes multiple steps forward or the transfer is really good, or, either way, you're hoping for something big to happen there. And then the running game. Again, they say by air or by land, they struggled with both. So what do we get done here?
Yeah, 1,000%. I will say though, when you talk about just investment in energy and fan dynamics, playing in Lane Stadium is going to give you a far better uptick of confidence in pulling off some upsets. And I give them 4 to 5 as well in terms of how their season's going to end up.
Yeah, I feel that.
All right, let's talk about the final shows here. Let's talk about our final friends here at ACC Kickoff on Thursday. We'll have Boston College, Clemson, North Carolina State, and Wake Forest. Boston College. I'm glad you're going first here. Glad you're not saving you for last, because when it comes to Virginia and Boston College, they're neck and neck for who wants the bottom spot here on ACC preseason predictions. I can almost put my full faith in that. Coach Hafley, he's going to have at least 6 wins for us to even consider him having a job next year. And I know that's a lot, but that's just where we're at. Does he get it?
No. Upgrade your LinkedIn, brother. Upgrade that resume. Get it ready. No, but seriously, I think the Boston College just has and again, this feels gross to say, their biggest weakness, you're looking at an offensive line that was banged up and bruised up last year, that everybody, or not everybody, if you're assuming this team is going to be good, you're assuming everybody coming back from injury last year is like back on it, back to who they were, if not better. It's not always the case. Some of those season-ending injuries that these guys suffered last year, it takes a while to get back in the groove of it. Lord knows if you're getting back in a groove and you potentially lose a easy, quote unquote, easy out of conference game, you're going to be looking at a tough time. So I think that this Boston College team, what can you get going offensively with replacing Zay Flowers, who has allegedly been the best receiver at Ravens camp, including OBJ? What can you get in terms of having Moorhead take another year of being, or have a first year of being QB number one all the way through? What can you do in terms of the offensive line getting back healthy and all that good stuff? And even beyond that, defensively, is the defensive backfield as good as they looked in the spring, or is that just a reflection of y'all offense being terrible?
Yeah, listen, you ain't never lied, and no lie was told. How many wins did they get?
3 to 4.
Does he make it through the whole season?
No.
Okay. Clemson gonna be in here. We're gonna talk through being the ACC champs and what it's like to now have no divisions, and having teams like NC State, having teams like Florida State certainly want to vie for an opportunity to potentially take you down. How confident are we that it's Clemson and nobody else still?
Clemson still has a fairly big advantage over everybody else. I don't think that that's any question or any surprise or any shock there in terms of who Clemson is. And, Clemson doesn't really look at the ACC the way that everybody else does in terms of like a lot of schools that we've talked about. If they win one ACC championship, that's a huge deal.
Yep.
Clemson, during a down year, wins an ACC championship. And so, for Clemson, the biggest thing I would say in terms of their strength, that defensive – the back end on that defense is expected to be the best part, but I'm going to tell you, those linebackers, Trotter Jr. and Barrett Carter, something different.
Yeah.
You just watch, you're turning on the tape and watching them do what they do. And I don't mean highlights. I mean the game film. I mean the all 22. Oh, it's a treat. It's truly a treat. The way that they are relentless in attacking all around the field, the way that they get downhill, fill holes, get back in coverage, super instinctive, all that good stuff. It's amazing. The question or the weakness of this team, you're looking to that offensive line saying, are you going to be better than you were last year? Because you can talk about DJ and say, oh, well, was Cade the guy? Was he not the guy? Whatever the case may be. You can talk about Will Shipley and say, oh, did he look good? Did he recover from his injury? Whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, those big guys up front, similarly to Florida State, how do y'all hold up? And that offensive line objectively was not good for Clemson last year. They were not opening up, gang busting holes and all that last year. It just wasn't happening. So your question here is the offensive line ready to do what needs to be done in order to restore this team to national prominence?
That's very true. I think that they're also a 10 to 11 win team. I think that it's going to come down to the last couple games and maybe shimmy or shake for them to be ACC champions yet again. But I think it's nice to have a little competition. It's not going to be a gimme for sure with the way Florida State is stacked.
Yeah, I for sure agree with that. And, having Garrett Riley as your offensive coordinator is always a good thing. Anybody with the last name Riley, if they call him plays in this NCAA, watch out. It is, you got something serious on your hands. But with that being said, this is a team that I would think, this is a team that I would think that 11 wins, that, 11, 12 wins, it wouldn't surprise anybody.
All right, let's go to North Carolina. North Carolina team with Drake May, Mac Brown, all the lights, all the stage. Never been able to deliver quite as high as the lights have been so far in recent years, but certainly are trying to make their case to not have Drake have a sophomore slump. So let's figure out just how many wins, because I think we all know the strengths. We damn sure know the weaknesses. It's just a matter of put up and shut up. It's kind of like Miami. Are you back or not? North Carolina, are you going to do it or not? Defense, are you going to figure it out or not? Period. No more talking.
Yeah, and I think that the answer is a resounding not. I think that this team, for all that you talk about with the Golden Boy and all that good stuff, it's good for him. Again, I think he's going to be, expected to lead somebody's franchise for the next 10 years in Drake May. Good for him. I think that they have surrounded him with a bunch of yin-yang and riffraff on the rest of this team.
Yeesh.
Very seriously. Having your entire starting secondary – did anybody from the starting secondary last year come back? Was there Okay. And I know some people are saying, well, it's addition by subtraction, and these guys that left. Okay, that's fine. I'm with you. If you get rid of all those guys and you bring in a bunch of guys who have started at better programs, who've done better things, hey, I get you. That's not the case.
Dre Bly will pay for his crimes.
You're counting on some players who were sitting behind these guys last year to now move up and become better than what they were. So, I'm struggling to see the vision in terms of like, oh, this team's going to be better and they're going to be fine. You're playing the guys who couldn't play because the last guys were too good, even though they were not good enough to stop App State from dropping. They were good. 30 in the quarter.
They just didn't have a good coach. Can we just be honest about it?
Okay. All right.
Listen. There's no reason that a Tony Grimes regresses of that magnitude. It's not for lack of talent. It's literally being coached.
I'm a firm believer that coaches coach you through the first 3 steps. Okay. Through the first 3 steps. And here's the thing. If you're talking offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, I'm much more likely to hear you out. And she's like, all right, cool. Because if you schematically, if you're
I ain't that high on Gene either. So we could, okay.
Let's talk about it. But I get you. So we need to have a coordinator kickoff, honestly, because I think that would be real spicy. Well, I'll tell you this much: if you don't believe in Gene, that's unfortunate. Because guess who's going to be calling them defensive plays come the fall?
Hello,
yeah, Mr. Chiswick is going to be right there.
I didn't think Jason Bateman was the answer either, but hell, I definitely feel like there is some issues over there. How many wins they gonna get, child?
I see 7 to 8 as their 7 to 8 is a sweet spot for them. I see that.
That's crazy. I say 8 or 9, and they're going to earn that 9th regular season.
Non-regular season is a lot. Okay, I feel you.
NC State, welcome Brennan Armstrong, welcome offensive coordinator NNA. Like, what do we feel like Dave Dorn and company? They have no excuses as to why the Atlantic is hard, and they couldn't even figure it out. They're just like, put up or shut up. Like, this is the time. Here you go. Give me your 10-win season finally.
So the strength of this team, we all know, is the defensive backfield. I mean, you've got talent on talent, under talent, next to talent with this defensive backfield in terms of what you got going on with Aiden White, who played the most snaps without allowing a touchdown in coverage last year. The question for this team, they look at a very similar question to some other folks in terms of what is your backfield going to look like? Running the ball. What are we looking at? Michael Allen is a guy that I think he has the highest ceiling of all the backs that are on the roster in terms of he's the biggest big play threat. He's the even leaving guy, great contact balance and all that good stuff. Jordan Houston is the Mr. Reliable. There every day in, day out. But objectively speaking, the run game just did not do enough last year. And then you lose the guy who looked like your best running back for when he was healthy in Demi Sumo Kongbe. Going to Kentucky with Devin Leary, the backfield is the question mark, the weakness on this team. And so that's, Atlantic, Coastal, don't matter. You got to figure out somebody to produce out of that backfield in order to be good.
How many wins again? 10 finally?
I see 7. 7, 8.
Wake Forest. I'm just gonna let that marinate because I personally feel like they're going to get 8 in the regular season, but NC State is known to stress me out, and I always get high on them. They always let me down, so there's that. Wake Forest, final team to end ACC kickoff.
Ooh,
6.
I can see 5. I can see 5 to 6. I can see it. I can see 5 to 6.
The strength is the fact that Mitch Griffiths is not going in blind this year.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
The weakness is that defense. How did we get better?
Have they ever gotten better?
That's what I'm trying to say.
I think when Boogie Basham was there, they were like, all right, defensively. Yeah. I don't think they were like world beaters. I think they were all right. But,
Coach Clausen's a great coach. That helps you.
That helps. Yeah. Dave's good ball. But the problem is Sam Hartman ain't walking through that door. That's the problem. I hope he's having a great time in Annapolis. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, in where?
Annapolis? Isn't that where Notre Dame is? Oh, shit.
South Bend. South Bend.
I have Navy on the brain. Navy
It's
and
all
Notre
right.
Dame are playing in Ireland, and I have Navy and Notre Dame on the brain. My bad.
It's okay. It's okay.
And I cuss. I'm sorry, David.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm sure he'll forgive you for that one. But this is a team that I think, you know, they look at some of these other teams in terms of being devoid of talent. They just have a better coach. They just have a more experienced coach that's been here, done this longer. So I could see 5-6 is aggressive, but I think they can get there.
All right, guys, there we have it. That is our ACC kickoff show. We have laid out every team, strengths, weaknesses, season record predictions of how many wins they're going to get. ACC kickoff schedule fully laid out for you. We had an episode about who's all going to be there. We had an episode about the whole schedule and review every single program. We went game by game, have a whole playlist on YouTube. So there's no excuse for you not to be prepped and ready for ACC football come 2023 season. Make sure that you leave a comment. Let us know what you're really thinking. And more importantly, give us the feedback. Make sure you subscribe. Check out all of our channels here, respective teams here in the ACC, our local experts. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs. Until next time.